When a millionaire braves a storm to save two sisters, the outcome will leave you in tears. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The wind howled like a ghost. Darkness crept over the horizon as storm clouds gathered, heavy and ominous. I felt an icy grip on my heart. Fear prickled my skin. There I was, just a regular guy, caught in a world where the impossible suddenly felt achingly real. My name is Alex, and on that fateful day, I was staring out the window of my penthouse, gripping the sill like it was a lifeline. My thoughts tangled around two faces, Lily and Mia, my little sisters, trapped in the fury of the storm hitting our hometown. I could see them in my mind, their laughter like sunlight, now replaced by echoes of distant cries for help. That I remembered how we grew up side by side, a trio bound by love and unyielding bonds. Those sisters were the light in my life. We painted our dreams on old canvases, shared secrets under the stars, and fought over the last slice of pizza. But now, all the warmth faded, replaced by a gnawing dread. The phone call had shattered everything. A car accident, they said. A hit and run. Panic flooded my veins as I raced to my car, the rain pounding against the windshield like 1,000 fists, each drop begging me to rethink my reckless journey. The storm raged, the road swallowed by darkness, but I had to reach them. Every flash of lightning illuminated my determination. I could picture them cold, shaking, alone. The memory of their smiles, bright as a summer day, fueled my desperation. What if I was too late? The thought gripped me with a sharp, icy hand. As I barreled onto the flooded streets, I could see chaos unfolding. People shouted, their faces twisted in fear. A tree uprooted. Water gushing like a river. Sirens blaring in the distance. Not now. I screamed into the storm, my voice lost to the roaring winds. The weight of 1,000,000 questions crashed down around me. What if I couldn't find them? But then a flicker of hope. There. A flash of red in the darkness. A light struggling to shine through the sheets of rain. I turned my car, heart racing. The world around me faded into a blur. As I neared the old bridge by the river, I saw two figures, huddled together, drenched and shivering. My heart skipped. I slammed the brakes, water splashing against the tires in a wild frenzy. Jumping from my car, I called out to them, but my voice trembled with the fury of the storm. Lily. Mia. I could barely breathe through my panic, the storm threatening to swallow my words. What if they didn't hear me? What if the storm took them away? But before I could take a step toward them, a deafening crack echoed in the air. The bridge shuddered, and something shifted behind me. The world spun, and I turned, eyes wide. A flash of light, an ominous rumble. Fear clawed at my gut. My breath quickened. What was happening? Then, in that moment of chaos, I saw a shadow, a figure moving through the abyss, piercing the darkness. My heart pounded in my chest. I couldn't decipher if they were friend or foe. But one thing was clear, if I didn't act now, I would lose everything. Would I save my sisters? Or would the storm claim us all? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The thunder rolled overhead as I stood frozen in place, mind racing with urgency while the storm raged around me. My heart pounded an unrelenting rhythm, drowning out the roar of rain and wind. The bridge was alive with a malevolent spirit, creaking like an old man in pain. I dared to throw a glance toward my sisters, who clung to each other under the canopy of a battered red umbrella, the color dull against the relentless downpour. Lily. Mia. My voice sliced through the clamor, desperate and frayed. They turned, eyes wide and glassy, like deer caught in headlights. The emotion in their gazes tethered me momentarily, anchoring my chaotic thoughts. I had to reach them, I had to pull them into safety. But as I took a step forward, an ominous groan erupted from the bridge. I felt the world shift beneath my feet. A jolt of fear shot through me like a shockwave. No. Stay there. Don't move. I shouted, aware that my insistence might trap them in uncertainty. But I couldn't bear the thought of them running toward danger. Just then, the shadow loomed closer, a figure shrouded in darkness, yet moving with purpose. Instinctively, I readied myself for a confrontation, heart warring with hope and fear. "Who are you?" I shouted, squinting against the darkness, searching for a face that could either be my salvation or my doom. "Alex." The voice was warm, familiar. My heart leapt. It was Marcus, a childhood friend who had grown up just a few blocks down from us, a steadfast figure in our lives. "I saw you. I came to help." He pushed through the torrential rain, his eyes lockstepped with mine, unwavering. "Help? What do you mean?" I called back, the disbelief laced with gratitude. His presence bolstered my courage as he moved closer, pulling off his soaked hoodie and wrapping it around my shoulders. "There's a storm drain just ahead," he said, breathless but determined. "We can take them there. If we don't hurry, this bridge won't hold." Without a moment's thought, I gestured for my sisters. "Come on. It's safer this way," I yelled, my heart in my throat as I waved them over. Lily took a tentative step, but Mia hesitated, her eyes flickering with fear and uncertainty. "Mia. Trust me. You're safe with us." With another rumble of thunder bearing down, they began to move, hesitant but trusting. My heart soared for a brief moment, the shimmer of hope almost dazzling. I glanced back at Marcus, who was already pacing toward the drain, ready to guide my sisters to safety as the winds howled angrily around us. As they neared, I felt the ground beneath us tremble more violently. "No, not now." The bridge creaked, a foreboding warning that ignited primal fear in my gut. We had to make it, we just had to. "You first." I shouted to Lily, desperate to break her paralysis. Right before she stepped off the edge, a tremendous crack echoed through the air like a gunshot. I watched in horror as a section of the bridge crumbled under the weight of the storm. "Go. Go." I urged, and she jumped, just making it to stable ground. Mia followed closely, her eyes wide with desperation. My heart raced with each movement, the distance between us shrinking, yet the risk looming large. But before I could take my own leap of faith, I heard an earth-shattering sound. The shadow of the bridge hung heavily above, and suddenly, the weight of it all crashed down. The very structure I relied upon brought destruction rather than salvation. The beam cracked, and with one more violent tremor, the very thing I was trying to escape began to plunge toward me. "Marcus." I screamed, instinct drenching my voice as I reached for him, fear clawing at my throat. "Get to them. I'll hold it." He shouted back, his voice steady yet filled with imminent dread, as he braced himself against the wreckage. "No. Come with us," I cried, my heart splintering at this unforgiving choice. But this was no longer just about my sisters. This was about saving a friend who wore bravery like a shield. Marcus nodded, as if affirming our bonded past, a silent promise to protect. "You have to go. Protect them." Everything screamed. The storm, the collapse, the wrenching ache in my chest. Time slowed as shadows flickered around us, and instinctively, I turned toward my sisters, shouting, "Run!" They moved, urgency sparked by the impending horror. I took one last look at Marcus, his face etched with determination, then turned to flee alongside my sisters. But each pounding footstep toward safety felt heavy with uncertainty. Could we outrun the storm? As I glanced back one last time, a deafening crash echoed through the night, drowning out my thoughts. Would I even get the chance to tell Marcus how much he meant to me once this nightmare ended? We stumbled forward into the night, breathless and terrified, that fleeting shard of hope pierced by the shadows of loss. And then, amidst the chaos, as the rain plastered against our skin, a revelation surged through me: Marcus would never abandon a fight so easily. And neither could I. As the light began to fade, another crack split the air, and the world tilted ever so slightly. I glanced at my sisters, trembling but holding on tightly to one another. Whatever came next, we were bound by love, hope, and an unbearable dread of the unknown. The storm still raged, and with every step I took, one question echoed in my mind: what had Marcus truly sacrificed in this moment, and would we all survive to discover the truth? The rain lashed against my skin, mingling with the salt of my tears as we ran, a desperate trio clinging tightly to each other while chaos swirled like a tempest around us. I could hardly hear my own thoughts above the din of the storm, but one haunting image replayed endlessly: Marcus, rooted in place as the bridge shattered. Lily. Mia. Keep up. My voice trembled as I pushed us forward, heart racing in sync with the rhythm of the rain. Each step felt heavier, each breath a struggle against the world collapsing behind us. My mind grappled with the weight of what we'd left behind, though I tore my eyes away from the darkness, a chasm that threatened to swallow everything whole. That we reached the storm drain, a narrow opening tucked into the gravelly edge of the bridge. It felt more like a greedy maw than a place of safety. I hesitated, every instinct screaming that this was not enough. In here, I urged, forcing my voice above the thrum of the storm. My sisters edged closer but hesitated. What if it's dangerous? Lily's voice wavered, echoing the uncertainty gnawing at my heart. What if the bridge gives way? Mia added, her eyes flickering with a mix of fear and hope. There's no other choice, I said, desperation coloring my tone. Just as I stepped forward, the world fell silent for a moment, a fleeting calm before the storm unleashed its wrath anew. I'll go first, I resolved. Follow me. I promise we'll be safe. I slid into the dark opening, my sister's feet shuffling behind me, their resolve firming. The metallic smell of earth and water enveloped us as we crawled in, abandoning the chaos above for the unknown below. I thought of Marcus, the warmth of his presence still a beacon in my mind. What would he have done? The tunnel felt suffocating, cramped and dark, with only the distant echo of raindrops racing toward us. Groping blindly ahead, I could hear my sister's quiet breaths, a steady reminder that I wasn't alone. It was maddening. I could have lost everything in an instant, yet here we were, united against the storm. A small stream trickled through the tunnel, and the sound, oddly soothing, filled the silence left by the raging storm. What if we can't find a way out? Mia whispered, repulsion creeping into her tone. We will, I insisted, though my heart quivered in protest. Just stay close. Time warped inside the drain, and I lost all sense of direction. Memories of laughter and warmth flashed in my mind. I could almost see Marcus smile, feel the courage in his touch as he had wrapped his hoodie around me. The weight of his sacrifice burrowed deeper and deeper into my heart. How could I go on without him? Suddenly, I felt Lily pull at my sleeve, her voice like a frightened bird. Alex, I think I hear something. That I froze, listening intently. Above the hum of water and the distant echo of thunder, I could make out a faint sound. A breath or a whisper cloaked in shadows, pulsing like a heartbeat. What is it? I whispered back, my pulse quickening. That I don't know, she said softly, her fingers gripping mine. It sounds like someone's crying. Tension coiled tightly around us as we hesitated, weighing the risks. Could someone else be trapped down here? Or was it just the echoes of our own fears? Let's keep going, I urged gently, pushing forward, but the sound grew louder, raw, aching, a symphony of sorrow resonating in the walls of the tunnel. No, wait, Mia insisted, her voice rising above the water. We can't just leave, we have to check. A battle raged within me, the instinct to protect and the nagging fear of what we might find. What if it's a trap? I asked skeptically, but my sister's determination shone through the darkness. Please, Lily added, her voice almost breaking. It could be someone who needs help. Turning back, the world of turmoil outside had faded into a vague memory, and within the confines of the tunnel, we made a decision, our hearts yearning for connection, for hope, even amidst despair. "All right," I said, feeling the weight of our shared courage. "Let's see." We edged along the walls, moving cautiously towards the source of the heart-wrenching sound until we found a narrow alleyway branching off the tunnel. Peering inside, the shadows revealed another figure. The sight hit me like a tidal wave. A boy, about our age, huddled with his back against the wall, his face streaked with dirt and tear-stained. He looked up as we approached, eyes wide and wild with fear. "No!" he cried, scrambling back. "Stay away. Wait. We're here to help," I pleaded, stepping closer, heart racing with the revelation of another soul lost in the storm. As he stared at us, I realized the silent scream in his eyes mirrored my own turmoil. But before we could bridge the gap, another crack reverberated above us, an echo of devastation rumbling from the bridge above. I felt the tunnel quiver ominously, the world shifting once more beneath our feet. "That we have to get out now," I exclaimed, grabbing my sister's hands. A sense of urgency pulled at my chest as the walls of our fragile sanctuary began to tremble, but the boy didn't move. He was frozen, eyes wide with terror. "I can't," he whispered, a broken plea that unraveled what little hope I fought to hold on to. "Come on. You have to trust us," I begged, but the roar of the storm crept closer, like a monster closing in. As I tugged at my sisters and the boy, uncertainty coiled around me with iron claws. There was no time left. We were on the precipice of a decision with no way out but forward, and within that moment, I didn't know if I could carry us all to safety. Then, without warning, the earth trembled again, the walls of our haven quaking violently. "Please!" I screamed, desperation spilling over. Would we leave him behind? Would this storm strip us of another life? And as the darkness surged, I knew we were running out of time, and an unseen force was about to seal our fate. What awaited us in the storm above, and what cost would our hearts pay to save a fragile life caught in chaos? The storm roared, but the true storm began to brew within our souls, threatening to tear us apart forever. The storm's fury intensified, each moment stretching longer than the last. I could hardly breathe, a primal fear clenching my heart as I tugged at the boy, desperation surging through my veins. "Please! You have to get up." My voice was a shaky whisper, drowned beneath the torrent outside, but I watched the hope in his eyes flicker like a candle threatened by the winds. With every tremor of the tunnel, my resolve wavered. "We can't leave without him," I shouted to my sisters, who stood beside me, their faces ghostly pale. "Lily, Mia, we have to help him." Lily's eyes shone with unyielding determination, a light amidst the darkness overshadowing us all. "We can do this. Together," she shouted, showing more courage than I felt. The boy, this stranger, shattered by the storm, needed that glimmer of hope. Mia hesitated before stepping forward. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice gentler now, reaching through the boy's fear. "Ethan," he replied, trembling. "You shouldn't be here." It's not safe anywhere," I countered, urgency seeping into my voice. "But we can face this together. You don't have to be alone." Ethan's gaze darted to the writhing shadows outside the tunnel as if the storm itself were threatening him. I could see the conflict raging in him, the yearning for connection battling with the weight of his despair. "Please," I urged again. "Let us help you." Something shifted in him, the flicker of life in his eyes ignited a spark of hope. "If you promise not to leave me," he began, voice trembling, vulnerability spilling over. "We won't," Mia assured him, reaching her hand toward him, inviting him back into the light of our fragile bond. Before he could respond, another shudder rippled through the ground, a menacing reminder of the calamity just above us. "Now!" I cried, grabbing his hand with a fierce necessity, feeling the warmth of life beneath my fingers push against the cold grip of despair. He hesitated, panic flaring anew in his eyes. "No." But in that moment, I felt a surge of fierce determination coursing through me. I couldn't lose anyone else. Not to this storm, not to the nesting darkness perpetually surrounding us. You have to trust us, Ethan, I pleaded, my grip tightening as I pulled him towards me, and finally, he stood, uncertainty warring with the glimmer of trust igniting in his gaze. Together, in our fragile circle, we huddled, forming a barrier against the shattering world above. Let's go. I urged, the grim echo of chaos threatening to swallow us whole. As we began to move cautiously, the tension in the tunnel shifted. There was no time for doubt as we ventured deeper into the darkness, a chorus of muffled cries from the storm still haunting our steps. Lily led the way forward, and with every inch, I felt the weight of dwindling minutes pressing against our shoulders. I dared not glance behind, the rawness of loss clung to me, a reminder of Marcus, of the bridge, and the choices left unmade. How was I supposed to hold this fragile band together when my own heart felt so splintered? A sharp crack echoed above, louder this time, shaking the tunnel's walls. Ethan faltered, his breath quickening as he grasped for stability. What if it's not safe up there? He gasped, the shadows of panic tightening around him. It has to be better than this, I insisted, forcing conviction into my voice. We can't go back, it's only going to get worse. Each step forward felt like a disbelief, a rebellion against the tempest that tossed our lives around like rag dolls. The air grew heavy and damp, pressing upon us, yet the soft murmurs of my sisters beside me pulsed with a strength I yearned to absorb. As we pressed onward, I could sense that we were nearing a crack in the earth where the sound of the storm grew clearer, rumbling like a living beast, a violent reminder of the world waiting to devour us whole. We stumbled upon a chamber, awash in a haunting glow from above, the murky water reflecting the pounding rain through a fissure in the stone. My heart raced, this was our chance. Look! I shouted, pointing to the upward beam of light spilling into the cavern. Illuminating our way out. Before I could take a step, another tremor hit, fierce enough to make us stumble. I caught Lily just as she swayed, and we locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between us. Yet, the moment marked a change, as the walls pulsed with an ominous groan, threatening to spit us back into darkness. Hurry! I urged, and as we made our way toward the light, Ethan's grip lingered on my arm. I don't know if I can, he stammered. You can. I shouted over the thunder above. You're not alone, but the desperation in his voice cut through me, raw and exposed. And then, as if the earth itself answered, thunder crashed overhead, suffocating the world in an icy grip. Without warning, a surge of water surged through the opening, rushing toward us like a harbinger of doom. Ethan's fear turned to panic, and in the chaos, he stumbled back, torn between the dark safety in his heart and the light flickering just within reach. I can't know. Don't! I screamed, reaching desperately, but the current had seized him, pulling him away into the depths of our shared nightmare. Alex! My sisters cried, but time slipped through my fingers like sand as I lunged forward, grasping for him, my heart thundering in my chest. The storm raged beyond the stone walls, the fierceness echoing what churned within me, and my last coherent thought before the world fell apart was this: I wouldn't let another soul slip away. Just as I reached the precipice of the light, everything imploded. Before I could blink, the echo of Ethan's cries dissolved within the storm, leaving us stranded, drowning in hopelessness, despair clawing deeper into my heart, anchored by a fear that maybe the bonds of love couldn't always triumph against nature's fury. And then, as if the universe sought to shatter the very essence of our hopes, a harrowing realization washed over me, one that would unravel the fragile threads we clung to. What if this storm wasn't just a force of nature, but a reckoning? What if fate had chosen our lives to be tangled with losses we might never understand? As I grappled with those questions, the world faded into silence, the storm's fury puncturing my heart with the urgency of thunder. I needed to find us a way out, but even as I stood on the threshold of salvation, a chilling question loomed: could I still save my sisters, when the storm already threatened to claim my very own soul? The air hung thick with moisture, the oppressive atmosphere amplifying the sound of my heart shattering like glass. Each breath I took felt laden with the weight of what we had just lost. Ethan's face, filled with desperation and fear, flashed in my mind as the reality of his absence settled heavily on my chest. The tunnel loomed around us, transforming into a suffocating maw of darkness, threatening to swallow me whole as I fought to keep my composure. Lily and Mia stood close, their faces painted with shades of panic and worry, mirroring the turmoil within me. I could sense their desperation, a shared yet unspoken dread anchoring us to the earth even as the storm roared within the fissures above. "We need to keep moving," I said, though my voice quivered, betraying my inner turmoil. "But what about Ethan?" Mia whispered, her tears glinting like dew in the dim light, betraying the facade of strength she had tried to project. "We can't just leave him. Do you think he would want us to die down here?" The words left my mouth sharp as knives, and my sisters stepped back, shocked into silence. I felt remorse wash over me, but I couldn't afford to let it distract from our grim reality. "We have to survive. Together." "For him," I added, knowing that if we faltered now, his sacrifice would be in vain. Lily nodded, face hardening with resolve. "Well, do it for him. We can't let his bravery be for nothing." Her voice held a fierce determination that sparked a flame of hope in my chest. It cracked through the suffocating weight of despair, making the way ahead seem just a shade lighter. Hand in hand, we pressed forward into the chamber, our footsteps echoing in the hollow silence. The flicker of light from above danced upon the damp stones, taunting us with the possibility of escape. But every step came resonating with the uncertainty of what lay beyond that light. The shadows loomed larger as we navigated the rocky terrain, every scrape of our shoes against the stones echoing like a heartbeat, steady, relentless, alive. In the midst of it all, I could still feel Ethan's presence lingering, a gentle whisper reminding me of his fear, of our bond. Maybe, just maybe, there was a path forward that we could tread together. Mia, still clutching my other hand, suddenly cried out. "Look!" She pointed toward an old, crumbling staircase at the rear of the chamber, bathed in a flickering glow that seemed to promise safety. "We can try that. Are you sure it's stable?" I hesitated, glancing at the stones, some crumbling into dust while the iron gripped the structure in a cold embrace. "Better than standing around here." "We can't let the storm catch us," Lily pressed, pulling me forward with renewed vigor. As we approached the staircase, the tremors continued, creating an uneasy rhythm beneath our feet. Each step we took felt like both a rebellion against the storm and a surrender to the uncertainty of our fate. The journey upward felt pounding and surreal. The further we advanced, the more I could hear the war of wind and rain crescendoing above, a symphony of chaos that matched the strife in my heart. But just as the staircase widened into what appeared to be an exit, another mighty tremble coursed through the staircase. I braced myself against the wall as loose stones crashed around us. "Hold on!" I shouted, gripping my sister's hands tighter. "Mia! Lily!" My voice echoed, panic rising in my chest as the shadow enveloped us. We needed to keep climbing, yet dread rooted us in place as the world quaked around us. "We can't stop. We can't!" Suddenly, a haunting scream tore through the cacophony of the storm. The unmistakable sound of terror echoed through the tunnel, a echoing reminder of Ethan's plight. "What was that?" Mia asked, her voice trembling as if the words themselves could draw monsters from the shadows. "I don't know," I whispered, fighting the whirlpool of dread welling inside me. "We have to keep moving. We can't go back." Yet, as we reached the top of the staircase, the sight above froze my breaths in my throat. The concrete ground around us cracked ominously, threatening to sever our connection to the safety we sought. And then a chasm opened beside us, dark and endless, as an icy wind curled through the air, tugging at the edges of our fear. "Alex! Look!" Lily shouted, trying to point towards something just beyond the gale. Straining against the tempest, I squinted through the chaos. A flicker of movement caught my eye, figures stumbling, shadows darting between the torrents. My heart seized as I recognized them amid the storm, the twisted silhouettes of those we thought we lost. "Marcus?" I gasped, jolted by disbelief. Were they real? Could he have braved the storm to find us? It felt like a cruel mirage, a hope shimmering just out of reach. Lily's grip tightened as she strained to see through the rain. "It's them!" she shouted. "They're alive!" But even as my heart soared with a flicker of joy, doubt gnawed at me. What did it mean? What were we stepping into, and could this reunion bring us the relief we longed for? As the storm wrought havoc just above us, I felt the ground shudder once more, an omen that our fortunes could turn on a dime. We need to make a choice. I shouted, my mind racing between hope and hopelessness, fear and bravery. What if the storm sought not just to claim us but to challenge our destinies? I could see my sisters' faces reflecting the very struggle, one of hope intertwined with the fear that we might be drawing closer to a reckoning. What do we do? MIA's voice quivered like a fragile echo caught in a tempest, and that's when the realization struck me: we might not be alone in our fight against the storm, but that wouldn't guarantee our victory. The storm was still very much alive, and whatever lay ahead would challenge more than just our wills. It would test the very fabric of our bonds. With trembling hands, I moved toward the edge of that fissure, uncertainty coiling itself like a shadow, whispering doubts that clawed at my heart. We leap into the light together, I breathed, holding tightly to the strands of trust between us, knowing that no matter the outcome, we would face the storm holding on to each other, clinging to the hope that flickered still. And just as I was about to take that leap, another deafening roar erupted from above, a sound that pushed the boundaries of fear into the depths of terror, echoing as if the storm itself were warning us. Not all journeys end in salvation, and not all lights guide us home. The dampness clung to my skin, a chilling reminder of how fragile our existence had become. As the deafening roar of the storm rattled overhead, reality threatened to fracture yet again. My sisters stood close by, their silhouettes edged with both determination and dread, a portrait of survival in desperate times. Even in our darkest hour, an unspoken bond intertwined our fates, refusing to let the creeping despair snuff out our flickering hope. Alex, Lily whispered, her voice strained against the howling wind. Are we really going to jump into the storm? What if it's a trap? I swallowed hard, my heart beating wildly. It's a risk we have to take. Marcus and the others, they wouldn't have come if they didn't believe there was a way through. The words felt heavy, and I could see the uncertainty in Lily's eyes. MIA's shaky breaths nearly drowned out the storm, and I knew they were grasping for the same glimmer of hope I clung to. But what if something happened to them? MIA's voice muttered the fears I had tried to bury. What if they weren't able to escape either? A fresh wave of anguish rolled over me as Ethan's face came crashing back into my mind like a tidal wave, but I would not be swept away. We don't know that, I replied, trying to maintain a firm yet gentle tone. I was the anchor in our uncertainty, even as the storm threatened to drag us under. They made it this far. We owe it to them and to ourselves to reach out, to be brave. With a deep breath pulling courage from deep within, I stepped to the edge of that dark fissure, the abyss gaping hungrily beneath. On the count of 3. Together, I said, holding my sister's hands. The warmth of their trust radiated through me, grounding my frayed spirit. 1, 2, 3. We jumped, launching ourselves into the unknown with hearts pounding, leaping toward whatever awaited us, clinging tightly to each other as we plummeted through the chaos. For a moment, I felt time stretch, the wonderment of freefall mingling with the terror of the storm. Would we find safety or succumb to the shadows? The cold air whipped past, a deafening reminder that we were no longer grounded in our reality, but the moment of transit was cut short when we landed not on solid ground, but in a cold, raging current. Water erupted around us, pulling and swirling. The engulfing grasp of the storm was relentless, but my instincts kicked in. I fought against the current, reaching out instinctively, feeling hands grasp for me, angry, desperate fingers clinging to hope. Mia. Lily. Their names tumbled from my lips, rising above the cacophony of the storm. We're here. Their voices, strained and scared, were a lifeline amidst the turbulence and the chaos. I barely registered the figures around us. Shadows darted through the water, more frantic than I was, their shapes twisted beyond recognition. Hold on. I shouted, dragging us toward the surface, our instincts fighting against the tide. Just moments later, a forceful hand seized my arm, yanking me back into the fray as I instantly felt the warmth of another body beside me, a luxury in this frozen struggle. I turned, gasping against the violent torrent, my grip tightening around my sisters. In the din of shouts and screams, I caught a glimpse of Marcus, battered yet alive, water streaming down his face as he caught sight of us. Alex. I thought we lost you. The relief in his voice cut through the storm's roar, brightening the darkness surrounding me. But before I could respond, the water surged again, and chaos erupted. Bodies collided, tangling limbs in a whirlpool of terror and desperation. The moment froze. I could feel my heartbeat thrumming in my ears, drowning the voices of hope beneath the chorus of fear. Then the cold slapping roar took a new turn. A massive wave formed, rising ominously above us, threatening to sweep everything away. My mind spun with possibilities. Could we survive this? Could we reach the safety of those flickering beings that had once been our lifeline? Suddenly, the wave crashed down, a wall of chaos, and I felt everything slip away. The world melted into darkness. As the relentless water closed over my head, I was disoriented, lost in a swirling abyss, desperation clawing at my chest as I fought against its grasp. Flashes of memory, the sound of laughter, warm embraces, comforting words flashed before my eyes in the dark. Had I truly lost them? Was this where my hope ended? The crushing weight of sorrow suffocated my spirit, drowning out the very flicker of joy I had hung onto relentlessly. Then, a gentle grip wrapped around my ankle, pulling me back as the world broke apart. Slivers of understanding pierced through the haze. It was Marcus, overcoming the torrent, his resolute presence glimmering amidst the chaos. I caught a glimpse of his face, filled with determination. "I won't let go," he shouted, his voice fierce against the storm. Suddenly, the current let up just enough for me to wrestle back some control. Panic surged through me, but I wouldn't allow despair to clutch at my heart. My eyes darted around for my sisters, and I locked on to Lilia. Flash of her pale face among the darkened water, hand outstretched toward me. That I lunged, gripping her hand as I felt MIA's presence collide with my back. With every ounce of strength remaining, we formed a chain, bound by our love and fear. Our hands intertwined as we clung fiercely to one another. Just as hope ignited in a final surge, an earth-shattering crash echoed above. An overwhelming force descended from the storm, a heavy weight that sent tremors of dread ricocheting through us. The twisted shadows of our allies screamed, mingled with the wind, a haunting warning that something far worse was to come. Waves crashed against us as the storm howled, darkening the light at the surface once more. "We need to get out now," Marcus bellowed, the urgency slicing through the despair. But as we fought against the tide, another thunderous boom echoed, and an ominous shadow loomed above. Something more than just the storm had decided to join the fray, and as we finally broke the surface, reality set in. The true battle was yet to begin. Through our gasps, I spotted something else in the mad swirl of desperation, a flickering light, pulling us in with its warmth. "There!" I shouted, my heart racing even faster. "We have to reach it." But the storm raged ferociously, and betrayal curled in the depths of uncertainty. As we hurtled toward the unknown, I realized we could not escape both the storm and our destinies. What awaited us beyond that light might not bring salvation, and in that instant, fear profound knotted in my gut, knowing that this journey was far from over, and out of the raging storm could come monstrous choices yet to be made. With all of my strength, I propelled myself and my sisters toward the flickering light, each stroke against the turbulent water a desperate plea for safety. Marcus was just behind us, his rugged determination pushing us all forward as we swam together, fighting against the relentless current that seemed intent on tearing us apart. As the light grew closer, I discerned the faint outline of a platform, wooden and worn, a sliver of hope amidst the raging madness surrounding us. "Just a little more." My voice broke on the words, adrenaline surging through me. I could almost taste the safety that lay just ahead, just out of reach. But just as the edge of the platform was within grasp, a jagged piece of debris crashed into the water nearby, sending a shocking wave surging toward us. Panic surged through me, the dark depths beckoning once more, but I barely had time to brace myself before I was tossed aside, my fingers slipping from Lily's grip. No. "Alex!" I could hear Mia's shriek pierce the chaos. It cut through the noise and into my heart with a jagged edge, turning fear into a near-physical ache. Throbbing pain and the cold clawing at my limbs overtook me, but the flickering light anchored my spirit. Gritting my teeth against the tide, I fought against the weight dragging me under. I kicked my feet, my eyes searching desperately for the familiar faces among the waves, but all around was chaos, darkness. Mia. Lily. I screamed, though my voice was swallowed by the storm's fury, and then, as if in reply, I caught sight of Mia's silhouette, her features distorted by the water, but brimming with defiance. She was fighting back towards me, determined and unwavering. I kicked hard against the current, lunging out toward her, a faint hope igniting amid the turmoil. In that mere instant, something jolted beneath me, a sudden rush, like the earth beneath my feet had shifted. The platform had tipped, its edge crashing into the water with a horrendous groan. Bodies clung desperately to whatever they could find, cries and screams intertwining with the howling wind. "Hold on!" I shouted, raising my voice against the storm. But even as I uttered the words, another force broke the surface of the water, a creature that sparked visions of shadows and serpents, emerging in a foaming burst of rage. The sight froze my blood. It was a monstrous silhouette, far beyond anything I had ever imagined, but just then, amidst the roiling sea, I locked eyes with Lily, her spirit still shining bright even as fear clawed at us from every direction. "Alex!" she shouted, and my heart surged at the sound of her voice, a beacon in the dark. Her hand pointed toward a gap in the chaos, an ephemeral opening where hope flickered, seeking to embrace us, together. "We must go now," I bellowed, rallying what remained of my strength. We pushed the dark thoughts away, bound tightly by each other's will to survive. With Mia's arm around my waist and Lily's hand clasping mine, we surged through the frothing waves together, heading toward that glimmer of salvation, that shroud of light amid the shadow. As we neared the platform, I could feel the heat of both the storm and our own panic bleeding into one. The closer we got, the more I realized the light was not just a rescue, it felt like a confrontation, a destination that would hold answers about all the darkness that lingered in our hearts. And just as I thought we would leap onto it, the shadow surged upward, crashing over us with a magnitude that pulled us back down, as though the storm itself meant to reclaim us. I struggled against the tide, the weight of despair returning with a vengeance. "Fight!" Marcus' voice rumbled from somewhere in the throng, his presence like an anchor in the chaos. "Don't stop. Keep going." It was both a command and a reassurance, urging us towards that shimmering veil. Desperation surged as I fought against the beast of shadow and water, clawing my way toward Lily and Mia, who were fading in and out of sight, their faces marred with terror and determination. But in the darkness surrounding us, a flicker of an otherworldly feeling washed over Mesamething from deep within that whispered of hope, and of something yet to come, and then, all at once, miracle and horror blended. The storm howled louder, winds whipping all around as the creature surged again, thrashing in anger, sending me crashing against solid wood. My fingers found purchase, clamping down as another wave rolled over us, but the warmth of the platform enveloped me like an embrace. I pulled myself up, heaving, lungs burning, heart racing. I glanced back. Where were my sisters? Where was Marcus? As I grasped wildly for answers amid the chaos, the flickering light shifted, casting flickering shadows across the faces of those who had made the jump into the storm. They were not alone. Surrounding me were familiar figures, those I had thought lost to the storm, and in that instant, realization struck and dread surged deep in my gut. "Who are you?" I croaked, my voice trembling in equal parts fear and hope, as a figure emerged from the flickering light, a presence both compelling and unsettling. "Alex." They stepped forward, eyes filled with knowing. "It's time for the truth." My heart dropped at the chilling words, the weight of everything crashing down, as the storm wailed in fervor around us. Secrets trembled just at the edges, and for the first time, I felt the dizzying weight of realization. We were giving up our past, and the choices we would be forced to make would change everything. And while I clutched desperately to the thread of cocooned warmth around me, I could not shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning of what lay ahead, the true storm that awaited us still. The light pulsated, drawing me in, but beneath its glow, shadows played on the wooden surface of the platform, twisting into forms that seemed to take a life of their own. I staggered backwards, feeling disoriented as the urgency of the situation clawed at my mind. Mia and Lily were still out there somewhere, and I could not let fear steal my resolve. As the echoes of memories flooded my consciousness, laughter intermingled with cries of despair, and the faces of those I loved and lost flickered like the dying flames of a candle. Then, a heavy hand landed on my shoulder, grounding me, It was Marcus, his features stark but resolute in the haze of chaos. Where are they? My voice trembled, desperation surfacing like a tidal wave. I peered over the edge of the platform, scanning the churning waters below. Mia. Lily. Panic threatened to suffocate me. Well, find them, Marcus promised, though dark clouds hung heavy in the air, the silence between us now fraught with unspoken fears. We have to believe, but even as I nodded, doubt gnawed at me. How could we hope to survive this? How could we fight against the storm, not just outside but within ourselves? The question gnawed at my mind, the faces of the lost weighing heavy on my heart. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted nearby, causing me to spin around. A figure stumbled towards us, soaked and trembling, face obscured by dark locks. It was Mia, her determination chiseled into her features even as they fell, exposing the raw wounds of fear. Mia. I rushed forward, engulfing her in a fierce embrace. My soul ignited with relief, but it tempered quickly as I noticed the desolation in her eyes. Where's Lily? Mia choked, glancing back toward the fury of the sea, a flicker of defeat settling on her brow. I couldn't see her. I lost her in the waves. No. The word tore from my throat like a gasp of agony. I had fought so hard to reach this point, to find my sisters, and yet, the specter of loss loomed larger than any wave. We will find her. We will keep fighting. With Marcus' fiery spirit propelling us, we gathered whatever strength remained, willing ourselves not to falter. The bluster of the storm raged on, and together we formed a bonded front, our voices rising above the tumult. Mia, how did you make it back? I asked as we maneuvered together. What happened out there? She hesitated, the fear evident in her eyes. I don't know. There was something in the water. A shiver rushed through me. The creature, it had followed us. What did it look like? I'm not sure, she replied, shuddering. Something ancient and furious. It was like it was protecting something. I think her voice trembled, and she turned her gaze to the dark horizon. It wants us to face it. With a heavy heart, I breathed in the salty air as uncertainty rolled through me, thick as fog. What if it's a trap, or a test? Marcus added, his eyes burning with defiance. We need to confront whatever it is, to know the truth. We can't run from it. Unexpected warmth spread through me at his words, a flicker of courage igniting. Perhaps the storm was not just a barrier but also a pathway. We stood together, edging closer to the very frontier of the storm. A sudden wave crashed violently against the platform, sending splinters of water soaring toward us. In the violent chaos, something fluttered against the wood, a flash of deep blue. Look. Mia pointed, her eyes wide with realization. I followed her gaze as a shimmering blur emerged, then a glint of metal. There, half buried in the debris, lay a locked tome that looked so painfully familiar. My heart raced as I recognized it. Lily. I lunged, grappling for it, and as my fingers clutched the cold surface, the waves surged around again. The shadows deepened, and suddenly, an echoing roar vibrated through my very bones, as if the storm itself had turned its attention on me. Then, without warning, a figure emerged from the depths, a silhouette of a girl with wild hair and a fierce resolve. Longing erupted in me, mixing with fear, and I called out, Lily. As our eyes met, time stilled, and everything else faded. The storm. The shadows, the uncertainty. But just as her lips began to form a word, the creature surged once more, a writhing mass determined to keep us apart. The waters boiled, and panic surged anew in my chest. In that moment, hope began to tarnish, the piercing realization of impending despair weaving through me. We were not just fighting a storm, we were fighting with everything we had for a future that felt impossibly layered in secrets and shadows. Alex. Lily's voice floated before me, but the connection was being torn apart, shattered like glass against the surface of the water. I could feel it all slipping away, the locket a weight in my hand, as I understood the terrifying truth that lay in our choices. In that heartbeat, with fate teetering on the cusp of darkness, I realized we had only begun to uncover the depth of this storm, and the sacrifices looming ahead. Would courage be enough, or would the revelations drown us all? As the shadows closed around us, the ache sharp and real, tension hung in the air. There we stood together, poised on the edge of a choice that would forever alter our lives, unraveling like a thread in an unrelenting tide. The wind howled like a banshee, echoing the cacophony of emotions raging within me. I could feel every fiber of my being tremble as the storm lashed mercilessly at the platform. My heart raced, still tethered to Lily, who stood in the embrace of the sea's wrath, her gaze a plea that transcended the chaos. "Alex." The terror in her voice propelled me forward, urging me to grasp hold of the moment before it splintered further into despair. I tightened my grip on the locket, a lifeline, a symbol of hope, but it also felt like a cruel reminder of what I could lose. "Mia, we have to get her back," I shouted through the tempest, my voice barely rising above the waves. "That I can't lose her again." Mia's fervent tones matched my urgency, and together we stood defiant against the storm. In that moment, I felt a wave of guilt wash over me, each heartbeat resonating with memories of what I had failed to protect. "I should have been there," I muttered, the haunting refrain of regret thickening around us. "Stop," Mia said fiercely, her eyes glistening with determination. "We can't afford to let that weigh us down. We've come too far." She was right, but how could I shake the shadows that snaked through my mind, dragging me into the depths of despair? The whispers of the lost loomed ever closer, and I could almost hear them joining the wail of the wind in a haunting symphony. Then, from the corner of my eye, I caught movement alongside the heaving waves. A dark figure emerged from the water, a glint that shone momentarily as if beckoning me. My breath caught as I recognized another locket, one identical to the one I held. "Look!" I shouted, struggling to keep my voice steady against the onslaught of wind. "There's another one, the creature. It's leading you," Mia yelled, a mixture of fear and fierce resolve in her voice. "Then we have to follow it." My heart quickened. Perhaps this was the key. The answer lodged deep within the mire of our aims, a shred of fate woven into the fabric of the tempest. As I stepped towards the edge, the water surged, crashing violently against the platform. "Lily!" I cried out once more, and for an instant, I thought I saw her face break through the turbulency. A fleeting moment of clarity, a lifeline tugging at my heart. But just as quickly as it came, the waves surged again, and I lost her, swallowed by the storm's insatiable hunger. "Alex! We need to stay together," Mia gasped, grabbing my arm. With renewed purpose, we leaned into one another, our resolve a fortress against the chaos. We forged through the elements, stepping cautiously to the edge of the platform as the figure in the water twisted and turned, leading us toward a bizarre vortex of swirling currents. "What if it wants to drown us too?" Mia whispered, her voice edged with raw vulnerability. "It might," I admitted, the dark truth echoed in our hearts. We were venturing deeper into the unknown, a realm kissed by danger and intrigue. Yet an inexplicable hope flickered in Meth's desire to uncover our fate, to peel back the layers of this storm and find who we were beneath its weight. Suddenly, there it was, again a flash of blue, the other locket bobbing in the waves. It felt like a beacon amid despair, drawing my attention to something more profound than our struggle, a connection to Lily, to our past, to our future. Together, I breathed, rallying our spirits. "If we're meant to face this, we have to do it side by side," Mia nodded, taking a step forward. We reached the precipice where the water churned beneath us, almost hypnotic in its rhythm. Just then, the creature surged from the depths, a sinuous shape rising through the heart of the storm, and with it came an alien power that made my bones reverberate. "Alex!" Lily's voice surged through me, a visceral pull that ignited a fire within my chest. The storm paused, a heavy heartbeat, and there she was. Her eyes met mine, alive, fierce, and unwavering. But surrounding her, shadows flared alive, shadowy tendrils reaching to grasp her with gnarled fingers. "Stop!" I cried, the urge surging in me like a fierce tide. But as I reached for her, the creature warbled, an ancient sound that vibrated through the air, slowing time. The water twisted, forming a barrier between us, each ripple a reminder of all that was at stake. That fleeting moment, a revelation crashed into me like a rogue wave. The locket I held, the one belonging to Lily, was not merely a trinket. It held secrets of our family, of our lineage entwined with the ocean's soul, secrets we had unwittingly awakened. My hands shook, and in the raging storm, I understood the power it held. Mia, I gasped as the vision became clear. This isn't just about finding Lily. There's something deeper at play, a legacy we're only just beginning to grasp, but before we could plunge into the truth, a fierce howl erupted from the depths, snatching away our moment of understanding. The creature's form twisted into a monstrous visage, an ancient guardian of the water, intent on protecting the secrets buried within. And then, as if taunting us, it pressed forth one final challenge. To know the truth, you must let go. With those words echoing in my mind, I fought against the urge to retreat, the weight of the locket heavy in my palm. Could I bear the truth of our family legacy? What would it demand of USA sacrifice, a choice? Yet the barrier around Lily began to close. With a newfound determination mingled with dread, I turned fully to Mia. Whatever it takes, we face this together. We can't let the storm dictate who we are. As we braced ourselves against the torrent, the winds roared louder and the waves climbed higher. Together, we stepped into the heart of the tempest, ready to confront not just the creature, but the legacy hidden within the depths of our lineage, a darkness that could either engulf us or guide us through the crossroad of our fate. But, as the shadows writhed and the storm climaxed, a shocking realization tugged at my heartstrings. Was I truly ready to face that truth? Or would this tempest reveal a rift deep enough to swallow us whole? Time raced on a razor's edge. I gripped Mia's hand tightly, knowing that the path ahead would demand everything we had, our past, our fears, our hopes, leading us to a precipice of unfathomable choices. As we plunged into the unknown, I couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was set to shatter or awaken in the heart of the storm. I don't know how we made it, every moment felt like wading through a nightmare. The storm howled its fury while we wrestled with doubts, our hearts steeped in anguish and longing. As darkness swirled fiercely around us, I focused on the luminous thread that tethered me to Lily and Mia, the connection that promised light in the chaos. With our hands gripped tightly together, we dove into the heart of the tempest, driven by the promise of each other, a lighthouse cutting through the storm. The creature's presence loomed, ancient and unforgiving, twisting and turning, drawing us deeper into its own chaos. The moment felt unreal, like we were being sucked into a vortex of duality, one part dread, one part destiny, where choices above all else determined the outcome. In the throes of fear, a spark of understanding ignited within me. The power of our legacy was not just in blood but in the bonds forged through trials endured together. And as we surged further forward, I swore I could hear the echoes of something lost, memories swirling like debris in water, anchoring our hearts to this very moment. Let go. The creature's voice rumbled, weaving through the storm like a lifeline scuttling through shadows. But just as those words resonated, I felt my grip begin to slide, fingers slipping through the chaos until Alex. Mia shouted, her fierce grip around my wrist holding me back from the edge of darkness. Don't let go. Panic surged through me. I can't lose you. I screamed, scrambling to find a solid foothold amidst the chaos. The creature's shadow reached for Lily and me again, a dark silhouette against the spiraling currents. Only together can you face the truth, it declared, its voice echoing with promises collected in a lifetime spanning ages. What truth? I yelled, the tempest threatening to drown my heart in anguish. But through it all, a glimmer of understanding began to illuminate the shadows. Everything we'd faced, every ache and loss, had led us here. I looked into the eyes of my sisters, their determination ignited a fervor in me, recalibrating my compass from despair to purpose. Lily. Mia. I pulled them close, hearts locked in a symphony of defiance. Whatever happens next, we stand together. We face this, and we find our way back. Together, we took a step into the unknown, and another, pushing against the pull threatening to claim us. The storm's roar crescendoed. It felt like a challenge. Would we succumb, or would we shatter the chains binding us to the past? As we plunged deeper, the light pulsed brighter, illuminating the memories lost. I could hear whispers rising like the tide, the echoes of laughter, joy mingling with sorrow, a Selkie's song of longing, each note igniting something deep within me. The truth began to unravel. Freedom was not beyond the storm but within us. An instant later, everything unraveled around us. The waves crashed, a blinding force that threw us apart, and I watched as my sisters were swallowed by the shadows. No. I hurled myself forward, but it was too late. Alex. Fight. They shouted, their voices echoing louder than the storm, a reminder that they were still with me, even cloaked in darkness. My heart roared. The knowledge that I had faced storms before felt silly now in comparison to their sacrifice. In that breath of realization, I launched into the depths. I searched the currents with the intensity of a drowning man, knowing that even if I lost them, I had to find a way back because love and family were forged in the fires of courage. And then I saw them emerging from the depths. Lily's face, fierce and unyielding, held the essence of survival. We were fragments of an unbreakable bond, tied together, woven into the very fabric of our fate. An overwhelming wave hit. Fear and strength collided as I reached for their hands, and when I clasped them, something remarkable unfolded. The storm shifted, welcoming us into its midst with whispers of understanding. Together. I roared, my voice colliding beautifully with theirs as we unified as one. Our hearts carried the secrets of our lineage, buoyed by the knowledge that we'd persevere, that together we decided our fate. And with that, we surged ahead, hands entwined, battling against the tide. The creature shrieked, shadows swirling around us, but finally, as we reached the flickering light, I grabbed the locket and hurled it into the maelstrom, pushing against the darkness that bound us. In its wake, the storm shook violently, and the walls of chaos collapsed. The light broke through, washing over us in a flood of warmth. When the shadows vanished, I found myself standing on the other side. Lily and Mia clung to me, shaken but alive, our spirits entwined amid the aftermath of the tempest. We did it. We faced the storm, Mia whispered, tears of relief streaking down her face. But within that moment, I realized that the storm had not just challenged us, it had transformed us. We were different, stronger, united not just by blood but by the deep understanding of love and sacrifice. An emotional rawness coursed through me as something I hadn't allowed to surface finally broke free, the truth of our unbreakable bond. Together, forever, I breathed, pulling them in for an embrace, as the remnants of the storm churned behind us, now echoes of our past. From the depths of despair had arisen unit yen eternal promise that we would weather every storm, hand in hand, heart to heart. And as we stood amidst the twilight, the horizon painted with reverie, I whispered the heart of our journey. We are our own legacy, a storm forged not by endings, but by the indomitable spirit of love. We will always find our way back to one another. Underneath the expanse of the night sky, the world transformed, and the lingering embrace of the storm became a memory of rebirth, a powerful testament to the courage of those who fight for family, love, and the lives we've built together.